Welcome back to the United Stand. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing. And I know, listen, there's 2 million of you that subscribe, but get the bell notification button turned on as well. Very, very important that you do that so you don't miss any of the content when it's uploaded or we go live. Lots to talk about tonight, and I can't wait to get your views and your opinions on some really big transfer stories surrounding Manchester United. A big update on young Heaven. I know we were all really petrified, upset and worried about his health after the game against Leicester City, but some real positivity surrounding that. A bit of a look ahead of what the summer could look like, the players Man United could be looking to bring in, and also some of the players that may be leaving. Plus, I don't know about you as United fans, but for years I've always felt that we have always had the rough end of the stick when it comes to how much rest time we get between games. We've had a few situations where we've ended up playing like 4 games in 10 days, and I felt that no one else in the Premier League has had it that bad, and some really interesting statistics have come out regarding that as well. But I always like to start by saying where you're watching from. Let me know where you're watching from around the world. Hello, Connor. Seems happy to see me. Mr. Robinson, hope you are well. Louise O'Donnell. I've probably butchered your name then. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty good with Irish names normally, but it didn't roll off the tongue too much there. Evening to Shah. Hope you're good, my friend. Richie, hello to you. Evening to Neve. John LQ. John LQ reminds me of the film. You ever seen the film John Q with Denzel Washington? It's a banger. And there's a song in that by Stevie Wonder, legend, my favorite singer, that I've never heard before until that film. Ramesh here says Mark looks different. Yeah, Mark he'd never pull off these Tony Soprano shirts. 100% he wouldn't be pulling them off. We all know that. Hi, Terry. Mark is in Dublin. Yes, I know Mark's in Dublin. That's why. Well, I do a couple of shows a week across Mark's platforms now anyway, but with the A team being away in Dublin, I am here for you tonight. But good evening to each and every single one of you. Let's jump into it, people. Let us jump into it right now. Theo, by the way, has seen John Q. He knows about John Q. I like that there. It's a great film. And look, you're laughing about the shirt. Listen, you'll learn this about me. I wear clothes and don't let them wear me. I wear what I like. It doesn't matter if other people don't. It's a good thing. First story of the day that I want to start off with is a real positive one. And this has come from Laurie Whitwell, Talk of the Devil's podcast. And this is so positive. It says here that Aiden Heaven has been seen at Carrington without a protective boot on his foot or leg. You can just surmise from that it's not going to be too long after the international break that he returns, hopefully. And of course, young Heaven himself put a post out on Instagram yesterday, basically stating thank you for the support, that he's recovering quickly, and it shouldn't be too long until he is back. Now, I have 2 responses to this. I want to get yours. I want to understand yours. My first was a very selfish one of thank God. Thank God he's okay. Thank God we'd have found out by now. Thank God there hasn't been a leg break. Thank God it isn't something as career altering as that. Doesn't appear like it's a bad ligament damage or a knee or anything along those lines. It may have just been a sprain. The positive side for Aiden Heaven is he's just got into the Man United team. And I will say this now, he was looking strong, composed, collected. For 18 years of age, he was playing above his years in a centre-back role. Now, I for one know there's going to be some ups and downs. He's going to have some games where he makes mistakes, where he gets taken on, where he judges something wrong, and it might cost United a goal or 2. This is going to happen. I'm locked in. I'm prepared for that because I understand the development that young players need. But had he got a really bad long injury, it could have been 3, 6, 9 months, 12 months until he played again. And I feel like right now, especially with Lenny Yoro out, who himself, by the way, is improving. Himself, by the way, who is getting fitter and getting back up to speed very quickly. I want Heaven starting games. I don't know about you, and I can't wait to read your comments on this, but I feel more comfortable with him at the back than Victor Lindelof. Johnny Evans, of course, Premier League winning player for Man United in his pomp. Heaven makes me feel more comfortable. Yes, there might be some moments that he misjudges things, but he's got brilliant ability on the ball, great strength, excellent speed, acceleration, and we lack that as a team. And I like the idea with Dorgu being back, Heaven now in the side. The left-hand side, I just suddenly feel like, look at that. We've got some technical ability. We've got some youth or exuberance. We have some power, some speed, some strength. You mix that all together, and I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited about it. So really, really positive news indeed that he is looking to come back. And Danny B here says, excellent progressive passing through the lines too. I absolutely agree. When I say excellent technical ability, I'm really not doing it justice. The man can use his left foot and his right. He's brilliant at breaking the lines from passing out from the back. And he understands and has a great sense of danger. So there are times where he plays that ball there, we could be in trouble if Dorgu or Delo miscontrols it. Doesn't take stupid risks. Equally, there's been times where the ball has been turned over, a line of United has been broken, and it isn't just that he's got the speed to recover the situation, whether it's his or somebody else's mistake. It's the fact he can read the game as well. At 18 years of age, there is such talent there indeed. Jane here says, watching from Uganda. Big up to yourself over there in Uganda. Big up yourself. Taya's watching from Coventry. Less exotic, less intriguing, but that's probably because I'm English, you know? This here from Rob Stuff, who says, positive news about Heaven, looks a real talent. He certainly does. And Greg, just above another member here, says, Aiden Heaven looked really good. He didn't. Look, what I would say to Man United fans is let's be mindful that he's going to have some bad games. He's young. I mean, even if he was 25, 26, he'd have some bad games. That's normal. We have to protect this young man when he goes through some adversity. We have to protect this young man when things don't go his way. And he'll need that because there is a certain fan base in North London that are very upset. They let him go for £1 million. So anytime he makes a mistake, they're going to be jumping on that like white on rice. They will be on it. And I think we as a fan base, we're not great at doing this at times, but I think we have to protect our own here a little bit. I think we've got to make sure that we are being protective of him. This here from L Doctor 69 says, don't rush him. No, I totally agree. You don't bring any player back before they're ready, before they're past fit, before a doctor, ironically, has said. Just 1 second. I was just opening a drink and I didn't want the noise to go down the mic. You don't want to rush anybody back. That I absolutely concur with. You are spot on. I nearly read a comment out there that I really shouldn't have done. This year's super chat from Raphael. He says United should go for, I don't know who that player is, and I'm dyslexic. Reading that name is a killer for me. Give me a second, right? And if I've never heard of somebody, okay, it's a Nigerian footballer. Is it Tulu Orokade? Is that how you pronounce it? I'm dyslexic. Reading is not my preferred method of communication. I hate it. I don't know much about him at all. Plays for Genk, according to this here, 24 years of age, which is a very good age, by the way. But I don't know, Raphael. I'm going to. You actually share the same surname. So is that just by coincidence? Is it your favorite player? Is it a family member? Let me know what the reason that you share the same surname there in the super chat. It says here he is the top goal scorer in Belgium. Why did I say he was a centre? Did I say he was a centre back? No, I don't know if I did. It says he's a striker. Why did I think he was a centre back? I don't know why I thought that. Maybe I misread something on here. But he's a forward here. Let's have a little look here at some of his output. Not bad. 30 goals in his last 79 league games. That is very, very good indeed. Playing in Belgium. 16 league goals this season. I'll take a look at him, my friend. I'll take if I'd just carried on reading, it says top goal scorer in Belgium, that would have helped me. I'll have a little look. What I will never do is I will never talk about a player that I have no knowledge of. I will never say they're great or they're bad and try and pull a fast one on any audience in that way. But I will take a look. I'll have a butcher's. I'll have a little bit of a butcher's here, my old mate. I will. Roger here says Heaven is decisive in his passing. Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked it. I really liked it indeed. The last English tramp says, "Oh, Terry. Hello to you. Hope you're well and good. Hope you're doing well out there." Alex here says, "Welcome back, Terry. I've subscribed to TFT and always appreciate your point of view and analysis on the United stand. Can't wait to see how today goes here from the USA." Well, thank you, Alex. And remember, everyone who's watching, myself and Mark have launched a new podcast on the Football Terrace that's going to go out weekly, which we're obviously very excited about, which is great. So if you want to watch that, of course, get to the end of this stream. Don't be leaving yourselves now. I'll post the link. I'll post a link into the live chat so you guys can go and check that out later as well. So if you are enjoying me being here, Mark and I have got a weekly podcast on the Football Terrace that we do. So feel free to go and watch that. And we'd love to get your opinions on it as well, because it's a little different to what we do on the United Stand. We're covering more teams, covering more angles. It's more of a reaction show to what other people are saying and doing. So go and check that out on later today. Our central defense has improved dramatically since the days of Maguire and Lindelof. That's from Fred Army. Do you know what I love about our centre-back area now? The reason I started stuttering is I started thinking about Lisandro Martinez, and I was really worried about Lisandro at the beginning of Ruben Amorim's reign. He wasn't looking great. He was making mistakes. The 5 or 6 games leading up to his cruciate injury, he was starting to look brilliant. Maguire had got back to a better level, and that's because he was playing in a 3 in the back. And for me, he has always been a 3 in the back centre back. De Ligt, I think, has been a fantastic signing. I won't have a bad word said against him. The idea that for £30-odd million, this hasn't been one of the best signings by any club in the Premier League this season is a nonsense. He's been phenomenal, and he's getting better and better. Lenny Yoro, look, he had that one game against Southampton where he was getting chewed up. Outside of that, I don't ever feel uncomfortable when he's on the football pitch. I don't think, what mistakes are he going to make next? He's going to get taken on by everybody. I've been really comfortable with his progression. It's just been a shame about the injuries so far. Heaven at £1 million has been an absolute steal so far, and I'm excited about that. Maz can play at centre-back or at full-back. So, look, I'm really happy with it. Doesn't mean we shouldn't look to buy more or look to improve that area further. But to your comment, I absolutely, centre-back wise and defensively, I feel more and more comfortable day in, day out when I see us play. Now, we've got some injuries to those areas. The next 5 matches are going to be a huge acid test. The quality, Forest, City, games against Lyon, and then there's someone else in that I'm now forgetting about. There's another really tough team. Someone in the comments is going to remember, but I know the next 5 games is very tough. So it's going to be a big test for Manchester United in that period. It really is. But by and large, I do think that area is improved. I really do. Rags Are Riches FC. One of my favorite songs by Tony Bennett, Rags to Riches. If you've not listened to it, go check it out. It says Leipzig and Leverkusen have so many players that would be great for Amorim's system. Wish we would recruit like them. Xavi Simons, Openda, Sesko, Frimpong, Wirtz. Wish we would sign players like that. Well, that moves us on to it's a great segue, your super chat there, Rags to Riches. A fantastic segue into a story today about Xavi Simons. And this comes from Plattenberg from Germany. And he states, and I quote, "Man United are still keen on Xavi Simons. The club have never lost focus on him. In addition to a striker, United are also looking for a versatile attacking midfield player. Leipzig are demanding around 67 million. Now, this separate the asking price of 67 million pounds at the moment. Let's just put that aside, and we'll come back to that later on down the line. I like him. I think he's talented. A lot of people like the idea, we need a specialist. I understand that request. But if you watch the way we play under Ruben Amorim, yes, I think we're going to look to try and develop a team that is more the aggressor, has more of the ball, and is more attacking, especially in the big games. However, versatility is the key. And what I mean by that is you when you play in that 10 position in the Amorim system, now I'm not going to try and sound like some tactico, but there are times where you've got to be able to play like an attacking midfielder or a number 10. There are times where you've got to be able to play like a wide player. So the role in itself requires versatility as opposed to being a specialist in the middle but poor on the outside. So I think that's very, very important when it comes to our recruitment, that there is that fluidity in the way a player can attack, as an example. In terms of, and going back to the super chat from Rags Are Riches, I hope we do start to recruit earlier players like that. And what I mean, and I think there are signs of it already, but it's very early. You think about Dorgu. Nobody was talking about Dorgu before we signed him. Nobody was talking about Heaven before we signed him. He's only played a handful of games, but you can already see there might be a player there inside Obi. I want to see more of that. We've got young Kone that's been signed, who's in the academy, and a few others. I am not going to throw my toys out the pram if every signing we make isn't either a superstar or there's already a big amount of hype behind them. Certain United fans will online. Certain toxic United fans online will. But they're the same people that get angry when Man United always sign the obvious player. Oh, everybody wants him. That's an easy signing. Where are the obscurities? Where is the player that nobody's really heard of who comes in for 30 million and within a year is an 80 million pound player? Well, to make those players work, I think fans have got to learn to relax. And by the way, the idea that you can't buy in that regard and become a brilliant team is ridiculous. It's about balance. I don't want to do what Chelsea have done. I was a big advocate for the way Chelsea were trying to rebuild, spending loads of money at the beginning, spreading that cost and building a squad fast. But over time, I'm looking at it and thinking, hang on, if you don't suddenly start adding some experience to this, some good quality experience to this young spine, the whole process may fizzle out. So I want a balance. I'd love us to sign Osimhen or Victor Gyökeres this summer, 26, 27, 28 years of age, in and around that. They'll be turning in the next year or so. I like the idea of someone like a Xavi Simons, who's young still, but we obviously know who he is and we know his qualities. But I also want to sign some more Heavens, some more Dorgus, players who are a little bit more obscure. Players, you know, I would love to sign Belieber before he gets to Brighton. I would love to sign Caicedo before he gets to Brighton. Man United were fantastic at doing that throughout my childhood and my adolescence and my teenage years and my young adult life. Now I'm an old middle-aged man. I want to see more of it, right? So I absolutely agree with that super chat wholeheartedly. And I'm really happy to see that we're linked to Xavi Simons. I like the player. My only real criticism of him is that I would like to see more output. I'm a big outputs person. And I know Ricky and Beth and the guys were having a big debate the other night about Bruno and, you know, his output versus previous midfielders and him giving the ball away too much. And listen, I'd love to one day have that conversation with Ricky. And I'm sure at some point, now that I'm on the United stand, that will happen. I get where he comes from. At the same time, I started doing some research and I started going back through the archives. And I was looking at brilliant Champions League teams. And I was looking at games where, like, I was looking at Xavi and Iniesta. And I was looking at games where Xavi had huge level of creativity, 5, 6, 7, 8 big chances created in games. Invariably, you would see the ball lost 18, 19, 20, 21 times. Then there was games where you go, hang on, he only created one chance today. Oh, but look, he only lost the ball 8 times. Why was that? Now, you'd have to go back and watch those games to make it make more sense. But I've always been a believer that the real high productive, forward-thinking midfielders, wingers, strikers, attackers will often give the ball away more, typically speaking, than players who are a little more conservative, who don't take as many risks. And I think a squad needs a good mixture. And I've always felt that Bruno has stood out massively, do you know, compared to Xavi giving the ball away a lot in his pomp, compared to KDB giving the ball away. We haven't ever had a structure and a balanced team for a prolonged period where Bruno going for a really difficult cross at the back post and then we lose possession because it's been cleared, or going for a through ball that takes out 4 players and sends our striker through one-on-one. Oh, I got intercepted. Now they're going to counter. What we haven't had is a team that can quickly press and win that ball back on a regular basis. Xavi's Barcelona had it. KDB's Man City had it. Trent Alexander-Arnold, the chief playmaker for the last 8 years at Liverpool, his team had it. So that's where I've always felt a little sorry for Bruno. It isn't for me, what Bruno does isn't the problem. It's what else there is around him. Remember, this is a team sport. This isn't like a boxer who's got a weak jaw, who just tries to go toe-to-toe in the pocket with people and keeps getting caught and knocked out. You blame the fighter because you know he hasn't got a great jaw. But this is a team sport. And the way a team should be put together is to get the very best out of the top-level attributes of each player. And you should try and build a squad where when you're putting out an 11, when you're making subs, they should complement each other and help to cover up each other's deficiencies. For instance, if you've got Maguire and Heaven at the back, who are you leaving as the last man to chase back any counterattacks? If you're leaving Maguire, that's a managerial issue. I wouldn't blame Maguire. You put the man who's faster, who can clean that situation up better. So look, we need that versatility. And back to Xavi Simons, I want to see more numbers from him. I was just looking here, actually. 7 goals, 4 assists this season. It's not bad in 18 league games. And he did have an ankle injury in the middle of the campaign. I just want to see a little bit more output from him. Going to turn 22 years of age soon, so he's moving away from that young, being in that kind of young player category, moving into sort of the middle of his 20s. He doesn't have bad output. Like, looking at his career, it's 108 goals and assists in 168 games, which isn't actually that bad. It's a lot better than I thought it was. Some of that, by the way, is actually a fair amount of that is you can scrap out 30 of those games, and around 25 of the goals and assists, they were for Paris Saint-Germain's under 19s. So it's not, overall, it isn't a bad return. I just want to see more. I mean, at Leipzig, 18 goals, 19 assists in 68 games. It's not a bad return. It's more than 50%. And I think if you're going to bring in a forward-thinking attacking player, no matter how good they are technically, no matter how good they are on the eye, I think you've got to be looking at a 50% plus GA ratio. I like to look at players that are in that 60, 70% position or above, because it essentially means they're going to create a goal or score you a goal in 60, 70% of games. And if you could have 3 or 4 players like that, you're on to a winner. But let me know what you think about Xavi Simons. Is that the kind of player that Man United should be focusing on in the summer? Do you have other players in mind that you would like the money to be spent on? I would love to garnish this content with your views and with your opinions. And by the way, get the like button smashed for us right now, please, people. Get that smashed. Get that shared. Terry, where are the gummies? I've already had my they're here. They're here. I eat them, but I've had 3 already today, so I'm not going to overeat them. I'm going to go with the recommended dosage that somebody should have. A big up to yourself here, to Jesus Christ is Lord, who has become an official member of the United Stand. That's brilliant of you. So thank you very much indeed. Hey, Terry, nice to see you. Your thoughts on Onana. I assume you mean our goalkeeper. I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with him. When he's in good form, like the moment, I like him. There's too many mistakes in him, though. If we're going to be honest and we're going to be brutal, he's made too many mistakes in the last 2 years, too many unforced errors, and that makes me nervous. If we are truly going to try to build a team that can win the English Premier League, that can win the Champions League, you need a goalkeeper that makes less mistakes. Because we can be in a game, we could be leading, we could be the better team, and he's always liable to essentially throw the ball in the back of the net. And I do have a nervousness with every shot that's hit at him. No matter how good or bad the shot is, as it's traveling towards Onana, I hold my breath. I want us to get to a point where most shots, we go, cool. We almost stop looking because we think, right, where's the counter-attack coming from? Because the goalkeeper's got it. I don't dislike him individually. I'm not going to slag him off. No horrible names. I think we need better, personally, than that. Kudus would be a great signing. Yeah, Kudus from West Ham would be a phenomenal player in our system. I think our 10 roles, he would be one of the best square pegs in a square hole signings that we could make, because he's got the speed, he has power, wonderful skill, brilliant dribbling ability. He can play through the center. He can go on the inside or the out. He's comfortable on both feet. He can create. He can score goals. He would be a machine in the press that Ruben Amorim wants. The only problem with Mohamed Kudus is how much he would cost. You are probably looking at 90 to 100 million pounds to take him away from West Ham. I don't think Man United have the facilities for that, big man. I don't think Man United have the readies and the money available to make that a purchase right now. This is the problem I have. Out of all the money we've spent in the last 3 or 4 years and players we took from Ajax, the fact we didn't get him is utterly ridiculous. So, yeah, I would love Kudus. I don't personally see it happening, but I would love us to go and make that deal, get that deal done. That would be a fantastic piece of business for us. I think it really, really would. Delhi here says, I like Simons. Yeah, I do as well. I think he's great. I really, really do. If we have 70 million to spend on Cunha, then Simons, spend it on Cunha rather than Simons. Yeah, I like Mateus Cunha as well. I think there's a very good player in there. The advantage he and Kudus have, and there's never a guarantee here, and I think it's always important to preface what I'm about to say with that, but they are Premier League proven. And when I say it's not a guarantee, we've seen players move between Premier League clubs and not do well. I do think in terms of risk, it lowers the risk of failure when they've already played in the Premier League, but that's typically why you are charged more money to buy Premier League proven players from your rivals. It looks like Wolves are going to stay up. So this whole, everybody's waiting to the summer for his price to drop. Listen, Man United, Arsenal, whoever is interested, should have just gone and got him in January because he's going to end up costing you about the same in the summer now. So maybe they should have just broke the bank and gone and got it done. But I like Cunha. I like Simon. Kudus would probably be my number one pick out of the names you have all mentioned so far. So let's have a little look here at some more comments that are coming in about this. You can't rely on Onana. No, I don't feel like I can. Fred Army says 100% agree with you. Onana, I like him, but he's not good enough. Leon here, one of the members, Leon619, says, I don't think Simons is the right pick right now. We already have Xerxes, Garnacho, Bruno, Mount, and Ahmad in that 10 role. We need a box-to-box experienced midfielder and maybe another DM as well as more. I hear you. However, I think there is a likelihood that some of the players you've mentioned, Garnacho being one of them, I know the manager speaks up Mason Mount, but I also think he's a man that understands injuries are a problem. I would like to see Mason Mount go. I'm not 100% for Garnacho going. But for instance, if you could raise 60, 70 million for Garnacho, and then you could buy Mohamed Kudus, I'm doing that swap. It wouldn't be a literal swap with West Ham, but I would do that deal. If Chelsea, again, it's about ducks in a row. If Chelsea come in and say, right, we're going to pay you 65, 70 million pounds for him, and Man United speak to West Ham and they go, right, it's 85 million we negotiate for Kudus. One of them is going to be pure profit on the day. The other one you can spread over 5 years. So it's doable and affordable. I would do that deal. To get Mason Mount off our books on stupid money a week, even if we only picked up 20 or 30 million pounds in the transfer market, again, I would do it. What we would save in salary would be gargantuan. So if you had Mount and Garnacho go, but Simon and Kudus come in, and I'm just doing names here, let's look at the finances for a moment, I would do it. But where I agree with you, Leon, is some better quality, some more speed and more power in those midfield areas is massively important for Manchester United. It really, really is for us to have that. We do lack legs in that area. 110%. I agree with you on that. Terry Onana is not even a ball-playing goalkeeper. I mean, he was Shah. He was when he was at Inter. I watched him regularly and I was so impressed, and I couldn't wait for him to become a Manchester United player. He's just not demonstrated that he can do it here, which is just unfortunate. Kudus can play right wing back as well. Can he? Has he played there? I'm gonna search that. I'm not saying you're a liar. I'm saying I didn't know that. Let's have a little butchers here. And not according to transfermarket.co.uk. He hasn't ever played there. He played right wing. He played right midfield. I mean, he's played bloody everywhere. He's played in his career 50 games as a right winger 48 games as a centre forward, 47 games as attacking midfielder, 47 games as a central midfielder, 19 games as a left winger. That's what, you know what I said about versatility? That would be a perfect person for these number 10 roles that Ruben Amorim has. That would be an absolutely brilliant pick, in my personal opinion. Helmy here says, Cunha and Osimhen would be game changers, but it ain't Football Manager. Yeah, I understand that. And look, how much money do Man United have to spend? We will see what we'll raise through player sales. All of this is going to dictate what we do as well. But as fans, we are allowed to sit here and say what we would like and who we would like. We don't need to remember we're not on the board making real suggestions. We're just fans talking. And the one thing I always say is this: think some of you won't remember life. Some of you are going to be young watching, and some of you are not going to remember like talking to your boys, talking to your friends, talking to your family about football before social media existed. Social media has been a prevalent part of the game now for 13 years. So unless you're early mid-20s or older, you don't really remember a time without it. But when there was no social media, you just spoke and no one cared. And what I mean by that is, as a football fan, you and your mates be in the playground at school, you'd be on a night out. Like me and my mates would get the bus to go out on a night out on a Saturday, right? You jump on a bus in Leytonstone, going to central London. On that hour's bus ride, and this is what we enjoyed the bus. We were working class lads, so there was no taxis for us, right? What we enjoyed about it is you'd sit there and normally other groups would get involved and you'd talk football for an hour or so. And it would be things like, who do you want to sign in the summer? And somebody would say it was now, but then we use today's players. Someone would go, oh, I want to sign Kudus at all costs. I'd love Kudus in the team. And nobody went, yes, but can you financially stretch that far? You might get a little bit of that, but it was just, you spoke about the player and their qualities and what they would bring. The one thing about social media that's got to me recently is when it comes to transfer stories, everybody wants to shut it down and say, but I don't think we can afford it. Oh, this is ridiculous. You need these 3 or 4, but they shut it down. They shut the conversations down. This is fan media. This is fan content. This is fan conversations. For generations, football fans have spoke about players, their quality, why they like them, why they want to sign them. Why suddenly in the last 3 or 4 years do people want to shut those conversations down? I have a theory on that. And I'm not sure if Mark wants me to share it. Because ironically, it's normally other content creators that want to shut it down. But that's just me. That's just me. Get that like button smashed, by the way, people. Get that done now. Thank you, Ewan, for saying I'm a great stand-in. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. Nobby Piles here says, Sir Jim, the con artist. We'll see, won't we? We will see. For me, I get the criticism. I get the distrust. I get why people don't like him. I'm somewhat relaxed about it. I really, really am. Now, speaking of transfers, there's another story I want to bring to you here. And this is the big one. So, you got to put your big boy pants on for this, because you got to be sensible with this one. About a couple of players leaving. So the first one is from TalkSport. Rasmus Hojlund is expected to leave Man United this summer. Now, please, if Mark is watching in Dublin, can somebody get him a tissue? I know he loves him. I like Rasmus as well. I feel so bad for him. We made a mistake as a football club, maybe with how much we paid, but the fact that we gave him the reins as being the lead number 9 straight away, he was never ready for that pressure, and he succumbed to it, I think. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Rasmus Hojlund was gone in the summer. And the reason I say that now is we're sitting on the 19th of March, 2025. Things can change. Is Xerxes is starting to flourish and look a player in one of these 10 positions. So the train of thought may be, well, we can utilize Xerxes here. Xerxes was also a cheaper signing. So even if he doesn't start to become a prolific goal scorer, it was less of an outlay. If he can perform well in these 10 roles, maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, you sell him on and make him money. Maybe he keeps progressing and becomes an integral part of a very good team. But with Rasmus, I almost, if the club are looking at this and saying, look, we just don't think he's ever going to get to the level we want him to. So this is where I become very objective about the goings and coming of players. We've been asking for football decision makers, footballing experts to make footballing decisions at the club for 12 years. If the Vavels and the Wilcotts and the Baradas, along with Ruben Amorim's, I want to say blessing, but his endorsement as well, if those minds all say, look, we love Rasmus, excellent man, works hard, never gives up, but we just don't believe he's going to be the level of striker with the sort of prolific, predatory nature that we need, it may be best to move him on now. I don't believe... I understand some will say, keep him until he's 25, keep him until he's 26. Let's see how he can develop. He may have already been burnt by the pressures of the last 2 years. So I will, even though there's a part of me that wants him to stay, and I'm not sure whether that's because I rate him or whether I've not enjoyed seeing how he's been treated and how he's been hurt by the club. And I want it to work out. It's like, oh, I'm so happy for him. That there's a feeling I have where I don't want him to go. But I don't think it's because I feel in my heart of hearts that he's going to be good enough to lead the line for Man United to get us back to winning trophies. And if we could sign Victor Gyökeres, but to do that, if we could sign Osimhen, but to do that, we have to let Rasmus go for 30 million, maybe 40. And by the way, I do think that there will be clubs in Europe that will pay 30 to 40 million pounds for him still. I believe a fresh start, a clean slate, a nice environment for him to walk straight into in leagues that have different sort of speeds and physicalities about them. I still think he could be a big, big asset to other clubs. So for me, I'll be gutted because when we signed him, I was excited about this young man, a player that I've been sort of looking at for about 3 to 6 months before we were linked to him on the Football Terrace, my channel. The amount of people talking about him from other clubs in the season before Man United bought him, I was really excited that we got him. I just feel that he's gone the same way as a lot of players before him, like your Paul Pogba's as an example, where the club, its instability. I know that we've brought in a coach now that's implementing a style, but I just feel the age he might have been burnt by it. Now, look, if he stays, then I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he turns it round and starts scoring 20 goals a season, 30 goals in all comps, and becomes a real powerhouse for us. I hope that's true, because all I want is the best for Manchester United and our players at the club. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the summer we sold him. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I understand why. The one thing I would also say is this, that it isn't even his finishing. By and large, his hold-up plays, first touch, his approach play, the way he sort of works with others isn't or hasn't been this season at the level that we need. So I wouldn't personally be surprised on that. So give me your views and give me your opinions on that in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you on that. Let's take a look at some of your comments. We've got some super chats to do in a moment as well. Not to be rude, but who is this guy? Oh, that's me. My name is Terry Flewers. I'm from the Football Terrace. Mark has essentially given me a job a couple of times a week on his platforms. If you haven't watched my other shows, well, I'm not going to apologize. You should need to watch the United Stand more. That's on you, me old mate. That's on you, me old mucker. But look, we're here. We're talking football. Get the like button hit. Give us your views and opinions. It will be amazing. That's who I am. Hopefully, that's fine. Should work out okay. This is... let's have a look at some of your... Hojlund will come good. That is a mischeck. Listen, I hope you're right. I hope you're right and I'm wrong. I don't have an agenda against him. I don't dislike him. When he scored, I cheered. I loved it. And if he scores every game between now and the end of the season, I'll cheer again. If we keep him and he keeps scoring next season, not every game, it's impossible, I'll be happy. You won't see me. That's what I don't run. I won't run an agenda just so I can say in 5 years' time when he leaves, oh, I told you he was right. I always want the best for my team. Marvin says, Ras can go. We'd rather sell Mainu than Garnacho all day long. That's from Simon. Simon, I think you're massively wrong there, my old mate. No way can you think that. Mainu, for me, is a keeper beyond keepers. Out of every player at the club right now, maybe Ahmad I put nobody above the untouchable list higher than Kobe Mainoo. I love the kid. I think he's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Now, another player, though, this is a really interesting piece today from Rob Dawson on ESPN. I'm going to read this to you now, right? Let me just move this over here. It's easier for me to read this way. I had a stinking headache today down inside my head. And I went to bed for a few hours before I got up. And now I'm reading down there like this. I can feel it. It must be like a crook in my neck while I've got the headache. Because when I'm twisting my neck this way, reading that screen, I can feel it. So I've moved it to this screen. But it says here that Man United will let Ruben Amorim decide Sancho's future in the unlikely event that the forward returns to Old Trafford in the summer. My first thought was, well, it's already an unlikely event, right? And I do find this whole Sancho situation hilarious. The seedling that was planted that has led to this story that hasn't gone away for a week was very simply, I think it was Ornstein. It may have been a different journalist. They were asking about, can Chelsea opt to not buy the player, which led them to do a bit of a legal breakdown of the rules within obligations to buy, basically saying there is a massive financial penalty if they want to buy out of it. That has led to dozens and dozens of articles slagging Man United off, saying, what a stupid club for allowing an obligation to not be an obligation. But most things in life, there's a get out of an obligation in business. In most things that you say and do, most deals that get done, sponsorships, employments, these types of contracts, there's a way out. But there's often a financial clause if you don't get it done. It's just normal. When I used to work in the business sector of banking at Barclays Bank, what a lot of our clients used to have to do is they would get, so we had a lot of manufacturing clients that would make clothes, bags, whatever it may be. And they would get these big contracts from companies, and it would be like a £3 million contract to make X units of bags by a certain date. Excuse me. And what the manufacturer had to do, they used to put bonds up, which were often around 10 to 15% of the £3 million they were going to be paid. So there's some of them, it would be as high as £500,000 they'd have to put in a cash bond, or they'd have to put a property forward and secure it, and the bank would hold on to it. And then if they didn't deliver their obligation of those bags, they had to pay them the company. And often what I found is that percentage was the profit margin the buyer of those bags, hats, whatever it may be, would have earned. That way, they as a company would still make their money for that year. So this doesn't shock me as someone who's worked in, had a decent job, that's worked in and around finance. You probably find there's an out in most obligations to buy, but as stated by Mr. Ornstein, there is a heavy financial penalty. So I don't think Man United would be stupid if Chelsea enacted it. Because if we end up getting 12 million, 30 million, 15 million as a buyout, and then we sell him, we might make more than the 25 million pound. So I just sort of look at this situation and think to myself, it's a bit of a nothing burger. However, to answer the point of this here, Amorim will decide. There's talk that if he comes back, Amorim will get that decision whether he goes or not. I don't think Amorim's going to want Jadon Sancho. I don't think, and I'm gutted for Jadon because I wanted him at Man United. I was gutted with how it went here. I didn't like the situation between him and Ten Hag. I thought was unnecessary. I didn't like either of their approaches, but I was disgusted by the leaks. The fact we're making him eat his lunch in a car, all of that stuff sat very uncomfortably with me. But do I want him back as a Man United player? The answer's no. Whether you believe he was a bad egg, bad apple, bad player, or whether more like me, you think the toxicity at the club when he joined has gone a long way to damaging the relationship, the confidence in the player, I think it's a by the by, a rationale and reasoning. I don't think he'll ever be a Man United player of the level that we need. And the fact that Chelsea don't want him should be another red flag to anyone that rates him. And I know that he'll have fans until the day he retires, and he has got great technical ability. I'm just not convinced he's a Premier League player. I think he likes space to run into. And when you play for Man Uniteds and Chelseas and Liverpools and Arsenals, teams sit back against you, you're doubled up upon. And I just don't, just stylistically, it's not a great match. So, look, we'll see what happens with it. I'm not particularly concerned. I don't think United, I think Chelsea are going to buy him as well, by the way. I think Chelsea will go through with it. I don't think they'll break it. But if they do, then Man United will sell him on. And if we end up picking up 15 million, say, for him breaking the clause, we only have to get 10 million for him to make the same money. But you never know, we might make a few £1 million more. So I don't think it's the way I've seen some United fans kick off and go, we're such a stupid club. How can we let this happen? Again, some people's reactions to it, I don't find genuine. There are others where I just feel like, well, read a bit more. Do a little bit more research, and you find that it's quite a common practice. The difference is Chelsea just have bought a lot of players that they didn't really need or want, and they just bought them for the sake of it, and now they're left in a position where they've got to find a way out of that hole. João Felix, 50 million they bought for him, and he's gone within 6 months. Sancho, they bought him with an obligation to buy. He ain't good enough for them for one reason or another, and they want to move it on. It's more of a Chelsea issue than a Man United one, so I'm not getting spun by it personally, but that's just me. Let's take a look at some of your comments here. First one says, Semenyo is untouchable, but Garnacho is not. The Shahin, that's not what I said, is it? It's not what I said. What I spoke about is, again, if the deal was Mainu leaves, but we sign a massively superior midfielder to him, I'd consider it, because the team would be better. And as much as I love our academy, I love youth development, I want the football team to be better. So if it's player A leaves, player B comes in, but player B is better, like the Garnacho Kudus example, I do think Kudus is a better player, I would always look at it. What I said, Mainu is right at the top of the list that I consider to be keepable and untouchable. Okay, I didn't say Garnacho's nowhere not on the list, and even then, everybody's for sale at the right price. Someone comes in this summer and goes, "Look, there's 300 million for Mainu." We'd be stupid to say no to it because of what you could do with that money. Romantically, you want to keep him because he's from the academy, but everybody's for sale. So at no point did I say that Garnacho is not on a list, but Garnacho is less untouchable for me than Mainu, than Ahmad, than Yoro, as example, than Bruno Fernandes, as an example. I think there are multiple players in the world that are attainable, that are better in these new 10 roles than Garnacho is for Manchester United. And we've already mentioned Cunha, we've already mentioned Kudus. And I also think signing some experience is very important for Man United. Now, ideally, I'd love us to have the money to buy some of those players and keep him and move on more of the dead wood and the older players. But needs must at times. Hojlund is a championship level striker. No, I think he's much better than a championship level striker. Thank you, Shine. I've seen your comments and fair enough. Yeah, look, that's why you ask questions. That's why we speak back. It's dialogue, my friend. It's all good. No, look, Rasmus Hojlund, if he went to the championship, would score a ridiculous amount of goals. He is much better than a championship striker. 110% he is. 110% he is. Has Mark left the United stand? Of course not. How can you leave something you own? Nice setup, mate. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate your comments there. The culture is shifting at the moment, so nope. Okay, you mean regarding Sancho? I understand that. I also agree with that. I'm not saying Sancho. You have to be very careful with your wording, because the world is full of very polarized people who think in a polarized, hyperbolic way. I don't think Sancho coming back or Rashford coming back would in itself directly create the toxicity, because I don't believe in the bad apple thing per se. But sometimes it's just, if the mood feels like it's improving for one reason or another, bringing people back into the fold who were not part of the problem, that were part of the dressing room when it was more toxic, can sometimes bring back those old memories, those old feelings. Oh, God. And this is why I think when it comes to selling some of our players, when it comes to like Rashford as an example, about a year ago I was talking about this. I said, I love Rashford. I absolutely love him. I don't think he's a problem, as in an individual. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think sometimes somebody can become a bit of a poster boy or synonymous with the failure of a club. And therefore, it's easier sometimes to sell the idea of moving forward to get rid of that player, to get rid of that individual. I thought Bruno was going to fall into that category. But as of late, he's starting to turn that around. So sometimes what you don't want to do is bring players that are, Anthony falls into that category. Ruben might get to the summer and say to Wilcock and say to Barada, look, you've seen in the last 4 or 5 months, the growth of this dressing room. And the dressing room may not have grown because those players have left. Correlation and causation are not always key here. What you may just find is that the team has bought into the ideas and it's coming together. And what you don't want to do is maybe bring 3 or 4 old faces back in whose body language and mindset was where those other players were 5-6 months ago, because it might drag some of them back down. They may jump in, love it, and move into that space, but they may not want to risk it. And I've seen that myself in the business world, in the normal work environment. So, do we want to add that person back in? No. Do I think, and I've never felt this, by the way, have I ever felt a Pogba, an Anthony, a Rashford? Have I ever felt like those players were the problem at the club? No, never. I've never felt an individual was the problem. But I part of me just feels like sometimes in life, move on. Sometimes it's done for Rashford, it's done for Anthony, it's done for Sancho. Let's move on to something new. Let's start afresh. Let's put some of those old debates and player FC debates to bed. Let's just move on. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys see it differently. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Cruiser here says, Terry is a great addition to the stand. Thank you very much indeed. Terry Jennings. If you think I sound like Rory Jennings, you need your ear holes cleaned out, my old mucker. I mean this with all respect. He's a posh boy. I'm from the roughest, most deprived part of London. Come on now. Come on. This is turning into a classic. I appreciate it. Look, and some people will misconstrue my words. Some people will misconstrue it. Some people will take it out of context, and that's fair enough. I'm very comfortable with what I'm saying. I don't believe Sancho. I don't believe Anthony. I don't believe Scott McTominay. I don't believe any of these players. He's been sold, so he's less of an example of coming back. I don't believe any of these players were the sole reason the club failed. Is it likely that Rashford had some bad training sessions? Yes. Is it likely that Scott McTominay did some things he shouldn't have done before? Yes, it's likely. It's more about, as the club is moving forward, moving into a new world, adding new players into the team. It's also like 6 months to a year of not learning this system for those players. And then you're adding them back in, they're going to be behind the track. The likelihood is most of the players we sign are ready-made or fit this system and style already. That's what the scouts should be looking at. Fingers crossed. Hopefully. I didn't meant to cross my fingers. So I think there's a big mixture in those circumstances. So again, I reiterate it again for when I get clipped and when people try and take it out of context. You guys can come here 52 minutes and 30 seconds in. I don't think any one player is a virus or the reason that the club went backwards. I just don't want to take people that were part of a failing team and put them into the dressing room of a team if we feel by then it's been moving forward. And we're talking a lot of hypotheticals here as well, but that's very difficult for the toaster people. I call them toaster people. People that would take that out of context are the people that I wouldn't trust to operate a toaster. So I call them toaster people. So there we go. Let's have a little look here at some super chats. This here says, do you think Manchester doesn't come out? Do you think Manchester United doesn't come out with the summer budget in order to get players cheaper and ensure prices are getting hiked? Yes. Now, me and Mark have had this conversation, and Mark makes a stellar point that if other clubs are involved in a bidding, that becomes irrelevant. You've got to pay what's there. But one of the biggest mistakes, and this is why I always think these talking points, there's nuance and there's depth that needs to be discussed. The biggest mistake United made in the transfer market was over a decade ago, where Ed Woodward, and by the way, the revisionism on this man recently has been an absolute abomination. When he said we can do in the transfer market what nobody else can, that led to us underselling and overbuying players for a decade. I honestly think if you went back and assessed how much we paid for players and how much we sold them for, I bet if you look at both ends of that candle, we burnt £300 million minimum in that period. And imagine having an extra £300 million available today now for signings. What that could do for speeding up and expediting this process. So, yeah, I do think I want us to plead poverty every single step of the way. Yes, people will say, well, how can you be building a new stadium? Well, Amazon have already approached the football club and had preliminary conversations about sponsoring the club over 700 million for the naming rights. You're going to have private investors that are going to buy up land around Old Trafford that United already own, like where the stadium currently sits. That's going to raise 500, 600, 700 million. Yeah, I'm personally just not that stressed about that stuff. Sorry, just joined. What happens if they return Sancho but we reject? I feel like Chelsea always try pulling one over on us last few transfer windows. Look, if we reject, it could go to court. But if there is a buyout option, so they must pay 10 million, they must pay 15 million to not buy the player, then there'll be very little that we can do. There'll be no point in us wasting money with lawyers, taking that through court. I would say take the 15 million pound, take the 10 million pound, and then sell him at a cheaper rate. And that way, Chelsea have dug in 10, 15 odd million into their transfer budget without even getting a player, without even getting an asset. And we might be able to make more than 25 million pounds. I've not read any of this where I thought to myself, this seems problematic. Desire here says, with Ten Hag, the team was going with the flow, but with Ruben Amorim, I can see he has a compass. I've got a feeling he'll take us to dry land. Dry land is not a myth. I like the film quotes tonight. Look, I've seen some progression in the last 5-6 games. My feet are so firmly planted on planet Earth. I think Man United fans shouldn't be getting carried away when we lose. I don't think we should be getting carried away when we win. The next 5 matches are an acid test, are very, very difficult. Get through them with a number of positive results. Maybe the defensive line holding up and not conceding stupid goals, maybe scoring a few more. You may see the confidence in the fan base, confidence in the dressing room raised to an even higher level. So from my perspective, I have got the way I view this is very simple. It doesn't matter the style of football we picked, the type of manager we needed, the type of profiles we need. I believe we needed to pick one, build a squad over a 3 to 4 year period to fit that style of football, and then you see where you are. Man United need that surgery. We need that approach. Now, everybody can disagree subjectively with the style and the formation and the manager and the profile of player because that's aesthetics, that's personal preference. It's like choosing the music that you want. But what we need is consistency. We need consistency in a squad build, which we haven't done for 12 years, which is why we have a Frankenstein squad that's fit for no one, which is why the players always need managers to adjust to them as opposed to those players adjusting to the system and progressing as a football club. It's very important that we get this right. It really, really is. Thank you for those comments there. The last story that I wanted to speak to you all about is this come out in The Athletic today, and it states here that Carlo Ancelotti claimed that Real Madrid would not play another game with less than 72 hours rest after his side's win against Villarreal. Does he have a point? Stats show only Man United across the whole of the top 4 leagues in Europe have played more games with less than 3 days rest in Europe's top leagues since 2002. This is crazy reading, genuinely. Since 2002, 42 games Man United, 41 games Real Madrid have been played where there's been less than 72 hours rest between that game being played and the next match we play. The nearest English team to us was West Ham on 36 and then Liverpool on 31. No one else is even in the ballpark there. And I've felt this for a long time with Man United. The only time it was probably our fault, and I think this came after that, was when we got the game called off against Liverpool and it got rescheduled and we ended up with I want to say our fault. The fans caused that game to be called off for the right reasons and we kind of create that situation ourselves. But the amount of times I've looked at games and gone, hang on a minute. Why hasn't that game been sandwiched? Why have we had that game sandwiched into a really difficult period for us? Why has that been allowed to happen? Why have we now got a game on a Saturday, a game on a Tuesday, and a game on a Saturday again? And then a following game on a Wednesday? Why have you done that when actually there was a free weekend here? It's an FA Cup weekend and we're not in it anymore. You could put the game then so our players had some rest time. I'm glad this evidence has come out because I do feel that Man United have been screwed before. We've had bad injury issues, but the fact that we've played 42 games in 3 years, 42 games in 3 years where we've had less than 3 days rest in between each game is absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And what they did, for instance, with the Leicester game is the right way of doing it. We played on the Thursday. We didn't kick off until 7:00 on the Saturday. But we've even seen it recently in midweek games where like loads of Premier League games are played on a Wednesday. United have played on the Sunday as an example. But the team we were playing, they played on the Saturday, right? So they've got that extra day's rest. And then we were playing again on the Saturday. But the team we just played was playing the Sunday. And I'm sitting there and saying, hang on a minute. Like, we're playing a team that's getting so much more rest, extra day's rest before we play them. And then they can go for it a little bit more on the Wednesday because they've got a game further away. And there are times where you're not always going to get the rub of the green. But the fact that Liverpool, it's 11 games less. I'm not even sure where everybody else comes on that list. Over a 3-year period, that's a lot of games where you're not getting enough rest and recuperation. And I think what I want to see Man United do, and you are right, coach, here, it is driven by greed. It is driven by the TV revenue. There's no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. Because Man United are the biggest draw for all the TV companies. And Man United playing a nobody on TV gets more views than a lot of the big teams playing each other. Globally, we're so big. And I think what they do is, well, we don't want to put that on a Champions League night because everyone's watching the Champions League. We'll do it the next night when there's no Champions League football. We've seen a lot of Premier League games played on Champions League nights the last few years. I doubt they'd put a Man United game on those nights because they don't want it to clash with the viewing figures. So I absolutely agree with you on that. Now, Europa League at Red Indian is a factor. There's no doubt the Europa League is a factor. You play on a Thursday, you play on a Sunday. That's going to impact you in that way. But work on it. Work a way around it. Is there a way that Man United could have a few games moved to a Monday, as an example? Has that been doable? Especially if it's so look at it this way. What if it's a back-to-back European weeks? What stops Man United playing on the Monday night sometimes if we've got 2-week games on Thursdays, 2 weeks running? Now, I know you'll say, well, Monday to Thursday, there's only that 3-day gap. But I'm not saying do it every week. But there are things they could do to help accommodate the club. And the FA, not just for Man United, should be doing everything they can to help their clubs that are playing in Europe. I've always believed that. I really, really do. Freddie here says, hated, adored, and never ignored. I agree. And by the way, I know I'm not saying that, listen, the clubs also play a part in this. What I will say about playing too many games, I'm not someone that we're about to do an end of season tour. We're not going to moan about too many games, but I'm talking about the competitive matches and making it fair. It's not about playing too many matches per se. It's, well, if we're competing against people, but we're playing 4 games a season more where we're getting less rest than them, I feel like that damages the integrity slightly. We should be making that as fair as possible so the league's as competitive as possible. It's more about those lines for me. Let's get this like button smashed, people. If you could do that, that'd be amazing. This here from Gustav. He says, the recruitment over the past 2 windows gives me hope for the future. Shift some of the dead wood. Yes, listen, I agree. I agree with you, Gus. I do. I've liked a lot of our signings in January and in the summer. If we could have a summer of, again, 4 or 5 more players that come in that we're really impressed with, that really move us forward in the right way, I'd be blown away by that personally. I would absolutely love it. I think it'd be a real great sort of piece of momentum for us moving forward. I really, really do. I'd be very, very excited about that indeed. Look, I want to thank everybody that's tuned into the show. If you want to see more of what I do, come and check out the Football Terrace. Just search the Football Terrace. I have just posted, though, into your live chat, mine and Mark's most recent podcast, mine and Mark Goldbridge's most recent podcast on my platform. It'd be great for you guys to come over and check that out when you're finished here. That would be absolutely amazing if you could do it. I think I posted it in your comment section. I'm not too sure. Is it in there? Yes, I did. It's just gone into your comment section now, into your live chat. So go and check that out. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I'm back tomorrow night on here, 8 p.m. So 2 nights running. I'm on the United Stand. It'd be great to see you there. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.